In the land of Skyrim, you will likely run across one of the many cities that exist in the land, either to sell equipment you took off a bandit conclave you massacred, attempting to join one of the multiple guilds, visiting your grandmother for canis root tea and sweet rolls, or to commit heinous crimes like murder and jaywalking. Hello everyone, I'm Neloth, and today I want to rank all of the cities in Skyrim and decide which are the best and which don't even deserve to exist. But before we begin, let me quickly highlight some criteria behind these rankings. I will only be ranking any official hold or city with its own independent crime system, so this will be including Ravenrock. Towns and villages like Riverwood or Dragonbridge will not be on this list. I will also be judging each city on its beauty and livability, if someone is able to make a living in that city. If I feel that I will die of hunger or get fucking stabbed the second I walk through a gate, the city will not be ranked that high. But with all that being said, let us rank the cities of Skyrim. Number 10. Winterhold. Similar to when I discussed the Bard's College in my Factions Ranked video, which you should definitely check out if you haven't already, I don't believe a single Enwa is surprised that I put Winterhold in last place. When you walk into Winterhold, you will be greeted by 4 buildings. The Jarl's Longhouse, which is quite generic, an empty bar, a failing general store, and the house of some hopeless optimist. There is extremely little work to be done for someone who may want to visit the city, with the exception of joining the College of Winterhold, which doesn't even seem to be a part of Winterhold and is quite independent from the city. For a city that once used to rival Solitude for the capital of Skyrim, it is quite sad to see this quote-unquote city as nothing more than a useless town. They don't even seem to have a farm or a mine to generate revenue from. They just have a fucking chicken just somewhere in the city wandering around. What the fuck? Luckily, this design of Winterhold is no fault of Bethesda, because this was the exact intention behind the city, similar to that of Bravil in Cyrodiil. However, it is still in complete last place. Number 9. Markarth. Markarth is a complete death trap, but let me explain why. On one side of the spectrum, you have a city that is practically besieged by Forsworn that live in the mountains of the Reach, and make it practically impossible for supplies to go in and out, and impossible for travelers to come and go. These Forsworn not only dominate all of the Reach, but they also have infiltrated the city of Markarth as well, and murder people all the time, just like Margaret when you first enter the city. On the other side of the spectrum, you have extreme corruption inside the city walls because of the Silverblood family. You think the Blackbriars are bad because Maven is slightly mean? Well, get a load of these swits. The Silverblood family uses the terrorist Forsworn to their advantage and guides them to slaughter any possible competition in order to keep their monopoly on everything in Markarth. Primarily mining, but everything in Markarth. If that doesn't make you want to run out of the city with a Khajiit's tail between your legs, the city of Markarth was originally a dwarven city, with plenty of dwarven architecture, which doesn't sound half bad, until you remember that the underground of the city is swarmed with dwarven automatons and traps waiting to slice you to ribbons. The city has a bigger poverty epidemic than Riften, with its beggars who live in a place called the Warrens. Also, the workers are treated harshly with little pay and beaten as well, and the beds are made of fucking stone. And last, but certainly not least, there is both a cannibal cult that worships the Daedric Prince Vermina, that resides mainly in Markarth, and also Molag Bal, who makes his home there as well. The city of Markarth may seem pretty cool on the outside, but due to its atrocious living conditions, difficulty to find appropriate work without being killed or extorted, corruption, heavy Daedric presence, and the Forsworn, this place makes Riften look like a goddamn paradise, and should be avoided at all costs. Speaking of Riften, number 8, Riften. Ah, Riften, home of the beautiful autumn trees and the luscious Lake Honrick, also home to the intense mafia-style corruption from the Blackbriar family and the Thieves Guild. Riften is a city that can only be described as beautiful on the outside and ugly on the inside, kinda like my fictional wife. Anyways, yes, Riften has an intense amount of corruption that makes living there almost like a prison, being robbed and being forced to pay protection money every week. If you speak to the Jarl of Riften, Jarl Layla Lawgiver, you will find that she is quite blind to the corruption, and doesn't even leave her castle to see the townsfolk. This is likely because her own steward is in the pocket of the Thieves Guild. On top of all of that, there is an intense amount of poverty, working conditions at the Blackbriar meadery are suboptimal, and skooma dealings are also going on. So, if all that bad shit is happening, how is it any better than Markarth? Well, it's not, but hey, at least the city isn't constantly under siege by terrorists. And also, there's the Temple of Mara that helps individuals like the player get married, and tries to help the citizens. However, they can be pretty poor at their job, but still, the thought is there. Additionally, an individual could work at the Riften Fishery, which is owned by Bolly Honeyhand, who is very charitable and treats his workers rather well. And the forests outside of Riften are ripe with game, and one could possibly make a decent living as a hunter. Lastly, if you are an individual who has a morally gray compass, you may find living in Riften to be quite nice, especially if you decide to work with the Thieves Guild or the Blackbriar family in a more legally flexible capacity. But due to intense corruption, high crime rate, apathetic rulers, and a skooma problem, Riften sucks. Number 7, Morthal. Morthal is a marsh city, and like Winterhold, it is one of the 4 unwalled cities that exist in Skyrim. Depending on who you are, you may find Morthal to be either beautiful or revolting. I belong to the former category, but I understand why people might not like the location and the environment. Now, I haven't screamed and bitched about how bad the city is yet, so why is it so low? Well, even though I vibe with the city, Morthal has a multitude of problems. There is a vampire plot to turn Morthal's citizens into thralls, monsters that exist out in the night, mages practicing secret magic in the dark, and also an apathetic ruler that leans more into her visions than caring for her citizenry and assuring them of their safety. There's also not much work to be found around Morthal. You have a family that has a sawmill, but that's it. Other than that, there's plenty of ingredients scattered around Morthal, and an alchemist you could sell them to, but that's all there is when it comes to work. With that being said, Morthal is a very quiet city, but with its dark side, it is placed here on the list. Number 6, Raven Rock. Raven Rock is a mining town owned by the stupid idiot house known as Whiterun. The town is really only known for its ebony mine, which has completely dried out when you first visit the city. So if you want to mine, you are as unlucky as the Nerevarine without Wraithguard. Even if new ebony veins are discovered in the mine, some individuals will say it is only a matter of time until the mine dries out again, and everyone is back to their destitute lives, and I agree heavily. On top of having no real income and being controlled by the Whiterun, there's also an issue with the elemental stones forcing individuals to build monuments when they're asleep, and there's constant attacks from the Ash Spawn, and don't even get me started on the pathetic Hlaalu agents in Raven Rock trying to make an assassination attempt. Only way this town could turn around is if some fabled hero were to come and fix all its problems. Anyways, number 5, Windhelm. To quote Dalen Machard, a Breton sailor on the Windhelm docks, never cared much for Windhelm. This place is depressing, which is very true in my case. Windhelm is a fortified city in the snow, and has good access to the sea for shipping, and has a surprising amount of farms as well. The only downsides of Windhelm that prohibits it from being higher on the list is that most of its resources are directly poured into the Stormcloak Rebellion. Poverty exists in the city, much racism exists in the city as well, as we can see with the Dunmer being shoved into the Grey Quarter, and Argonians not even being allowed into the city at all. On top of all that, there is a serial killer killing a bunch of women, and the guards are so inept, they can't even follow a very obvious blood trail to the killer's lair, which is also home to a victim of the same serial killer. Apologies for my yelling, I am just projecting on how horribly written that quest is for the serial killer and how easy it is to solve the case. But aside from all that, Windhelm is not actually a bad place to live, as long as you're not a Dark Elf, or an Argonian, or a Khajiit, or a big... Number 4, Dawnstar. Dawnstar is a winterized version of Morthal that is on the coast of Skyrim and acts as both a porting town and a mining town all in one. Dawnstar doesn't really have much beauty to it unless you count the endless plains of snow, and like every city, it's plagued with many issues like a terrible leader, suboptimal mining conditions, mainly with the pathetic Ironbreaker mine, and less with the awesome Quicksilver mine, and also a nightmare issue set forth by the Daedric Prince Vermina. While Dawnstar does have its issues, it's better than some of the cities on this list, and it is a good place to make a living if you want to work hard as a miner or a porter. Just make sure to work with the Quicksilver mine instead of the stupid Ironbreaker mine. Not the best city, but also not the worst. Just, don't go near that door up the coast. Number 3, Falkreath. Falkreath is my favorite city that I never visit. I have had characters reach level 60 and have never even set foot in Falkreath, simply because the city doesn't have a lot of quests connected to it and is very out of the way from many of the main quests and faction quests that exist in the game. However, while I do not visit this city often, I genuinely like its atmosphere, and it is a very peaceful city. Aside from a werewolf issue and a corrupt Jarl, the city doesn't have really any serious issues attached to it, and it's primarily known for its lumber and its massive graveyard. Falkreath also has a lot of rich game to hunt, so if you're a hunter at heart, this region is perfect for you, and Hirsine would approve. Not much to say about Falkreath, even though I ranked it number 3, but I just like it, even though I rarely visit it, but still, I just like it. Number 2, Whiterun. Similar to Winterhold, but the opposite, I don't think anyone is shocked that I have ranked Whiterun this high. It is a very nice and vibrant city with rich hunting grounds and plenty of farms to feed the populace. Aside from a minor Daedra problem in Dragon's Reach, the city has next to zero issues and is a very safe city to settle down in. The city of Whiterun is also home to the Companions, so on top of the Whiterun Guard, which are already pretty badass for taking on a dragon, the Companions could easily protect the citizenry from any non-political attack. The Jarl of Whiterun, Jarl Balin Balgruf the Greater, is also a very stand-up guy and will often head to the tavern some nights to speak with his people. And lastly, as I have already mentioned, the plains outside of Whiterun are perfect for farming crops and also hunting game, and there doesn't seem to be any major poverty, and even the lower class citizens seem to be pretty well off, at least better than some cities. Number 1 is Solitude. I think every nation in Tamriel has its own quote-unquote rich city, and Solitude would certainly fit the bill. Solitude does have its problems with necromancy, public executions, religious persecution, and shitty landlords, but when you walk through Solitude and see the beautiful architecture of the city and the numerous lumber mills and farms, those problems seem rather minute. Not only does Solitude have sawmills and farms galore, but it is also the headquarters of the East Empire Company in Skyrim, which is a company that ships goods all over not just Skyrim, but Tamriel entirely. So, because of all of that, it might be quite easy to find work in Solitude. Additionally, as much as I hate the Bard's College from a gameplay perspective, as well as a slight lore perspective, they are also a major boon to Solitude, and provide merriment and joy to many citizens through its bards and music. While there is a current political struggle going on for who is High King of Skyrim, and subsequently which city is the capital of Skyrim, I think we can all agree that its location and majestic beauty makes Solitude a clear choice as the capital. So, fuck off, Winterhold! And that's all I wrote, a video ranking the cities of Skyrim according to livability and beauty, and also my personal opinion. This was definitely a hard category to rank, and I found myself changing the rankings even while editing the video at the very end. But I do hope you enjoyed it. I'm curious what you think of the video in the comments down below. So, with that all being said, I hope you enjoyed, and make sure to like the video, like the subscribe button, and like the bell notification down below to be updated on future videos. And I will see you whenever the fuck I decide to upload again. House Telvanni be with you.
Please, O hero of Skyrim, I shall be ever so grateful.
I'm gonna sneeze. Fuck, I'm about to sneeze. Oh, I have that feeling where I'm about to sneeze and it won't let me sneeze. I just want to sneeze, please. Bye, Azura, let me sneeze.